Good Tuesday morning. I'm Father Steve from St. Bridget's Hermitage, and this is Moments with the Master. Today is the 5th day of October 2021, and our readings today come from the book of Jonah, chapter 3, verses 1 through 10, the Gospel according to St. Luke, chapter 10, verses 38 through 42, and where I'm going to be drawing my reflection, Psalms 130. Folks, as always, I encourage you to keep up with your readings, your prayers, your meditations, and hope as we go into the fall season and the holiday seasons, uh, you don't get sidetracked and you stay on top of that. Well, today I think it's important that I actually read uh, Psalms 130, and then we can move on to my reflections. The psalmist writes, "Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to the voice of my supplications. If you, O Lord, should mark my iniquities, who could stand? But there is forgiveness with you, so that you may be revered. I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in his word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than those who watch the morning, more than those who watch the morning. O Israel, hope in the Lord. For with the Lord there is a steadfast love, and with him is great power to redeem. It is he who will redeem Israel from all its iniquities." I want to start off and point out the first two verses. "Out of the depth I will cry to thee, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to the voice of my supplications." This is one of the most common verses we read in spiritual writings and hymns, prayers. It's one of the favorites of composers who use the Psalms. It's used because this isn't just a quiet, easygoing prayer. This prayer is expressing, somebody who's in the depths, somebody who has overwhelming challenges. And I think that we all can relate to the Psalms because we've all been there. We've all had those times when situations, the issues, the world seems to be crashing around us. And in fact, that the word, depths in the English translation here does mean the depths of the ocean. In plain English, I think the psalmist would say, "Oh Lord, help me. The world is crashing in on me." It's something that's going to happen to us all at some point in time. And the first two verses remind us two things. That there will be those crashing times. There will be those times that when we're in our depths. But more importantly, the second thing is that we can call on the Lord in an urgency and without fancy words, without great eloquence, which is really helpful for some of us who couldn't be eloquent on our best day. And knowing these two facts, we'll be able to prepare for the future. We'll be able to prepare for those times in our lives. Folks, this psalm isn't a psalm where it's a trusting calm, a joyful glory to the Lord. This psalm is taken as someone who's going through probably the roughest time in their lives. Like a kid who gets stuck with his head in a fence, and he's yelling for mom and dad. This is that urgency. And I know that so many of you that I've spoken to over the last 18 months is going through some of those depths, the sorrows and the pains. We have economic problems, the COVID problems, high unemployment, all those things. I could go on. We've sadly turned to uh, some of our worst habits, and we've lost our way sometimes. This is that prayer when we've lost our that time when we've lapsed into our bad habits and addictions. Uh, but St. Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 4, 8, and 10, we are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed. And I think this echoes in this psalm. I think this is what the psalmist is pointing out. Uh, we wonder why. And we read in St. Matthew 10:29 through 31, are not two sparrows sold for a penny, and yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs of your head are all counted. So do not be afraid. You are more valuable than many sparrows. God's trying to impart that He loves you. And I can't help but read that passage and laugh at myself. Apparently the Lord wasn't counting very high for me. Going back to verse 3 and 4 of Psalms 130, we read, if you, O Lord, should mark iniquity, Lord, who could stand? But there is forgiveness with you, so that you may be revered. Folks, aren't you glad that the Lord doesn't count every sin against us? He doesn't have a tally book, just marking each day's down. Because what would we say to Him? How could we justify it? We couldn't. And that's what the psalmist is saying. He doesn't do that for you. He forgives you. We're all very much like that prodigal son that turns around after we've screwed things up so badly, and the Lord, very much like the Father, He's just waiting for us. So hopefully you get that today. Verse 5, the psalmist gives us a great answer to our concerns and our issues. He writes, I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in His word I hope. Okay, folks, this is why I tell you every time we meet, you got to keep up on the readings. The scriptures are very much like our anchor. We can call to the Lord, but we need to have an anchor that we hold on and we can read and understand. Verse 7 goes on, and O Israel, hope in the Lord, for with the Lord there is a steadfast love, and with Him is great power to redeem. The 130th Psalm is like an Advent psalm. The psalmist is hoping and waiting to experience the redemption and the forgiveness of the Lord. Are you at that point that you need the redemption and forgiveness? Do you need to reset the clock? Have you maybe lost your way a little bit? Well, this Psalms is telling you it's not but a prayer away. Our issues and our concerns will be different than the psalmist, but it's Christ that we need to put our lives back together. The Father to give us the strength and the encouragement to move through our daily journey. So no matter how far you are in your depths, no matter what you've done or how you've done it, the Lord is just waiting for you. Isn't it great to have a Father who will bend down to listen to us? Cups His ear to hear our concerns, our issues, our prayers. Folks, God loves you. I tell you that all the time. He's going to pull you out of whatever pit you've put yourself into. All you got to do is call on Him. Well, those are my reflections. I hope you got something out of them. May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord hold you in the palm of His hand. Until we meet again.